Sergeant at Arms will please secure the doors. Members will please take their seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right, Senators, we have a stranger here to give us the invocation today. Someone that we all barely know, and we'll see how it goes. But no, we are very pleased to have the Senator from District 25, our President Pro Tem, who will be giving the invocation this morning. Please rise for the invocation.
Good morning, Mr. President, colleagues. Let us pray. Father God, we come to you this morning with hearts that are grateful. We're grateful for your mercy, your love, and your grace. We acknowledge that at times we forget to say thank you to each other, but also to you. You've provided so much for each of us to be thankful for. Lord, many of us have experienced difficult seasons. Unforeseen challenges have been all around us, and you've been there lifting us up. Many of us and our staff carry the pressures of those that we serve, but we're grateful that when we're tired, you give us strength. When we're weak, that's when you are strong. Thank you. When we are hurting, you provide healing. And while some in our country experience hate, you remind us that you are love. As we are here not only to represent, but to serve, help us to keep the diverse needs and expectations of our communities always before us. Let us not forget that we are instruments to be used by your hands. When we see problems, you remind us to focus on collaborative solutions. We're grateful that we have leaders who give time and thought to the issues before us. We have committed members of our community who teach, protect, provide health care, provide creative relief, commerce, recreation, guidance, and safety. We thank you because in your wisdom you considered everything. So today, we acknowledge that you have provided supply for all our needs. You've given us so very much, and we say thank you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the Senator from District 10.
Wonderful prayer by our colleague and President Pro Tem, which definitely must be journalized. I think it was a great model, and so if there are people who come before us who aren't sure of how to do it, they ought to take a look at that prayer.
Well said. Well said, Senator. Without objection, we will most certainly recognize or journalize the President Pro Tem's wonderful remarks this morning. Thank you so much for those. They're wonderful. All right, Senators, has everyone recorded their presence in the chamber? All right. If so, the clerk will take the call. With 42 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is now in session. We can feel the energy in the room. It's that time in session. I think we're at 48, 49 days left. We've hit the 40s. 40s are always the time where things feel a little bit interesting. So we're hitting that point, which is always fun. So let's go ahead. We've got introductions. We have a number, I think, of resolutions and introductions. Let's go ahead and start with the Senator from District 4 from Frederick County. Is the Senator available? The soccer team? Yes, come on now, folks. Chair recognizes the Senator from District 4.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I hope the body will give a warm welcome to the Brunswick boys soccer team, who are the 1A state champions. It's a pleasure to have them down here today. They beat Falston, and they are my hometown team. And Brunswick, we really punch above our weight. It's only a town of about 6,000, but we are winning championships, state soccer championships. Our athletic programs are really coming along. So we would have us today Coach Sean Baker, Jackson Aker, Cameron Harris, Jack Willard, and Brendan Walsh. And I would just ask that the clerk read the resolution in full.
Clerk will read the resolution in full.
Be it hereby known to all that the Senate of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to the Brunswick High School boys soccer team in recognition of winning the 2021 Class 1A Boys Soccer State Championship. We applaud your outstanding season and wish you many more. Congratulations.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? If so, the clerk will take the call. Gentlemen of Brunswick High School, the soccer team, the Senate of Maryland unanimously celebrates your 2021 Class 1A Boys Soccer State Championship. Congratulations. Well done, fellas. Make sure that winning on the field is matched by the winning in the classroom. Keep up the good work. All right, we've got another resolution. We have the senator from District 45. Are we ready? Our guests are here.
Yes, sir.
Oh, excellent. Oh, very good. Chair recognizes the senator from District 45.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today, this February 23rd, 2022, is Independent Higher Education Day. There will be 50 students holding virtual meetings throughout our day-to-day, representing 13 state-aided member institutions of Maryland Independent College and Universities Association, which we know as MICUA. I'm proud that one of our MICUA schools are right here in the heart of the 45th District, which is MICA, Maryland Institute College of Art. In addition, this year MICUA is celebrating its 50th anniversary, colleagues, of advocating on behalf of its students, faculty, staff, and schools. With me on the Senate floor, our President Mary Lou Yam of Notre Dame of Maryland University, located in District 43, Chair of the MICUA Board of Trustees, and President Sammy Hoy of MICA, located right there in the heart of the 45th District. Also joining us from the gallery, if you can stand, are Nande Altima, an alum of Notre Dame of Maryland University, and Aubrey Waddick. Please join me, colleagues, in congratulating MICUA on a long and successful partnership with the state of Maryland and welcoming these students, these presidents, and other MICUA representatives to Annapolis. Mr. President, could you read the resolution?
Clerk will read the resolution in full.
be it hereby known to all that the Senate of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to the Maryland Independent College and University Association in recognition of 50 years of dedicated service to the students, faculty, and staff of the nonprofit institutions of higher education located in the state. The entire membership extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this 23rd day of February 2022.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? If so, the clerk will take the call. To our two dear presidents here, thank you. The Senate of Maryland unanimously celebrates your 50 years of dedicated service for our MICUA institutions. Had a wonderful opportunity to meet with some of the students this morning, and hope that more senators get the chance to connect with some of those students as well. And just want to say congratulations. Thank you all. Great to see you. Great to see you. Great to see you both. All right, we have one more resolution. Do we have our guests for our third resolution? Chair recognizes the senator from the capital city.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Colleagues, in 1892, Major Charles Douglas, the youngest son of Frederick Douglass and a Civil War veteran, and his wife Laura were turned away from a restaurant at the Bay Ridge Resort and Amusement Park because of their race. The resort was separated by a narrow channel from property owned by the Brashers, a local black family. Charles and his wife purchased 2/3 of that interest in that property and settled in 1893, building their first cottage in 1894, establishing a retreat on the shores of the Chesapeake Bay. Maryland's own Frederick Douglass, famed activist and abolitionist, would have become a resident of Highland Beach had he not died shortly before his summer home, Twin Oaks, which still stands, was completed. The town became a gathering place for prominent members of the black community. Among them were residents and guests Paul Robeson, Judge Robert Terrell, and his wife Dr. Mary Church Terrell, one of the first African-American women to earn a college degree, Booker T. Washington, Robert Weaver, W.E.B. Du Bois, playwright Paul Laurence Dunbar, poet Langston Hughes, Arthur Alex Haley. So many people lived and visited Highland Beach. 100 years ago, colleagues, this General Assembly voted to incorporate Highland Beach as a municipality, becoming the first predominantly African-American municipality in Maryland. And although founded as a summer retreat, it is now a town with both summer and year-round residents, and there are approximately 80 homes, many of them still owned by the original settlers of Highland Beach. Mr. President, I'm so thrilled that we can celebrate this remarkable centennial anniversary of the town of Highland Beach. It's a privilege of my life to represent this community. I'd ask the Senate to give a warm welcome to Mayor Bill Sanders, who's in front, Dr. Monique Langston, Miss Jean Langston, also the Executive Director of the Frederick Douglass Museum and Cultural Center, Kevin Langston, and all three of those Langstons are the great-grandchildren of Dr. Mary Church Terrell, Michelle Fuller on the City Council, Dina Sewell, and Shayna Sewell as well, as our delegates from District 30A have crossed the aisle to come over for this resolution. And Mr. President, I ask that we read the resolution in full.
The clerk will read the resolution in full.
Be it hereby known to all that the Senate of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to the town of Highland Beach in recognition of the celebration of the 100th anniversary of the incorporation of Highland Beach as an historic African-American summer resort, community, and home to historic civil rights leaders Frederick Douglass and Mary Church Terrell. With its incorporation, the town became the first African-American municipality in Maryland. The entire membership extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this 23rd day of February 2022.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? If so, the clerk will take the call. Residents of Highland Beach, our leadership, and the incredible work, the Senate of Maryland unanimously celebrates the 100th anniversary of the incorporation of your incredible town and its unbelievable history. It is such a gem for the state of Maryland, and its story is one that we certainly can never forget and how important it is. So thank you all so much. And Mayor Sanders, you know, there is one very, very important constituent that the mayor has, a member of our Secretary of the Senate's office, Ms. Joanne Greer, who lives in Highland Beach and whose family has lived in Highland Beach for quite some time. So, most important constituent that exists. Yeah. All constituents are loved equally, but some have extra special love, right? All right. Other introductions. Chair recognizes the senator from District 20.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just wanted to recognize three special guests here from the University of Maryland Baltimore Law School, three law students from the Maryland Law Democrats, Sam Kibede, Chris Daffin, and Tahoe Okoje. If you could stand to be recognized and give them a nice Senate warm welcome.
Welcome to the Senate. Thank you for joining us today. Other introductions. Chair recognizes the co-chair of the Protocol Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Pages with us today. So if the Pages would come on out front while I introduce you. First of all, we have Lauren Raskin from Montgomery County, District 14, Poolsville High School. And then we have Tanish Gupta from Washington County, District 2A, North Hagerstown High School, and Christian Thomas from Baltimore County, District 6, Eastern Technical High School. Please give them a warm round of applause.
Welcome. Welcome.
We are so thankful that these young people are with us in person. They can, it's a little bit different. They've been all virtual, so they get to feel the energy and participate in that today. So you're exactly right. A wonderful opportunity. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator. Thank you, Pages. We hope you enjoy your day today. Excellent. Thank you. All right. Other introductions? Chair recognizes the Senator from St. Mary's.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If I could, I've got a couple guests in the upstairs. The Austin Tullen and Josh Kelly. They're two young small businessmen from Southern Maryland. They'll be here observing the Senate today. If we could wish them a warm Senate welcome.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for being here. We hope you enjoy your time. All right, any further introductions? Appears not. All right, let's go ahead. So be considered the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. It looks like we do still have some introductory bills. Yesterday, we didn't have any more bills coming in. Thought it was going to be a trend, but some late filers here. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 979, Senator Salling, prohibition of dredging on man-o'-war shoals. Senate Bill 980.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. They will be referred to the Standing Committee on Rules. We have some bond initiatives. Clerk will read the bond initiatives.
Senator Wallstreicher, Randolph Road condos. Senator Wallstreicher, Randolph Road.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bond initiatives. They will be referred to the Subcommittee on Capital. We have some House bills. Another round of House bills came over. Clerk will read the bills.
House Bill 157, Delegate Barvet, vehicle laws, plug-in electric drive vehicles, reserved parking spaces.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. They will be referred to their appropriate Senate standing committees. Let's go ahead and start with our layover. We've got one bill on calendar 6. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 243, Senator Feldman, Secretary of Health, professional qualification requirement. Question is on the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable report.
All right, Senators. Question is on the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Chair recognizes the Senator from the 34th District on the amendments.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. If maybe Floor Leader would yield for a question.
Yes, sir.
Senator may proceed.
Oh, there you are. Sorry. Saw movement over there.
Yes.
Got distracted. Is there a reason for spelling out these qualifications for the Secretary?
Well, can I just give a little context?
Sure.
Answer it in this way. So, first of all, during COVID, a lot of us became aware of the fact that at the local level, you may not know this, but all of our local health officers, all 24, either have to be an MD or their deputy has to be an MD. And on top of that, it requires that they have a master's degree in public health, a whole series of criteria. That's all 24 of our local health officers. Secondly, and yet, when it comes to our Secretary of Health, the top guy, the guy that controls $18 billion budget, 1/3 of our entire state budget, overseeing Medicaid, DDA, and a whole series of other things, we were silent. So I looked, and several of us looked around the country to see if there, around the country, 25 states actually put into place for their Secretary of Health some level of requirements. Some require that there be an MD. Our committee didn't think that we should be too prescriptive on that front. So these categories are really categories. There's no professional credential you need. It's 5 categories. All you have to do is meet one of the 5. And basically, we're essentially saying that, if you're going to be the top health officer of our state, you should have some basic qualifications for the job, as well as your deputies. So these 5 are very broad, extremely broad. It's not a very high bar. It's about as minimal as any of the other 25 states that we've come up with. And that's sort of the genesis. I should also add, currently, beyond our local health secretaries, we have qualifications, current statute, for our Secretary of Education, our Secretary for Disabilities, our Budget Secretary, our Attorney General is written in the Constitution. A public defender has to have certain credentials, which are much more prescriptive than what's laid out in this particular piece of legislation. So post-COVID, we looked at states ranging from West Virginia to California. This is not a Democrat-Republican thing. It's just saying that our Secretary of Health should have some basic qualifications to be the Secretary of Health of the state of Maryland.
Okay, and maybe that's the get to the heart of the question. You said it's not a very high bar, and part of my inquisition here is, what is that bar? Because it simply says professionally qualified.
No, actually, it lays out 5 pretty specific. If you look at the bill, I don't know if you have it in front of you, and if you want me to read the 5 categories.
Well, I got the categories of on health policy, health care facilities administration.
Right, you have to
health
meet
economics.
one of these 5. You have to have some background health law or policy, and again, you can look through, all you have to do is meet one of them. So the question of qualifications, look, we have boards, commissions, task forces, these other categories that have broad language. Ultimately, it's a sort of a guidepost for a governor. If you're going to send the executive nominations a Secretary of Health, we're telling the governor, don't just send us a political hack or somebody that donated your campaign. You've got to have at least some criteria, some guidance. Ultimately, for this, the executive nominations of the Senate will scrutinize that category. But the fact is, we're not being that prescriptive. It is broad, just like we do, again, whether it's task forces, commissions, boards, even these other secretaries I outlined. We're not being that prescriptive, but it is a guidepost.
Okay, so I mean, I've run quite a few political campaigns, mostly my own, but other people's as well over the many years. So I sort of feel like I'm professionally qualified to run a political campaign, but I can't show you a certificate. There's nothing out there that says that I'm professionally qualified to do that. I feel like I'm professionally qualified if you know, running a professional campaign was part of the requirements, would I be professionally qualified to do that based upon my experience? Or do I have to have a degree from a university saying that I'm a political scientist and the like?
Yeah, professionally qualified through experience, I think, is sort of the central point here. You have to have some relevant experience, that being, I think, the key to analyze whether you're qualified. That's how the language, I think, is.
So it doesn't necessarily require that you have a master's degree.
No, we actually intentionally did not include that to limit the applicant pool. And for example, the senator from the 21st, you know, had raised to me in laying over the bill, we don't want to limit that applicant pool too much. Mm-hmm. So unlike the 6 states that require a Secretary of Health to have an MD, or unlike our local health officers, including Harford County's local health officer, who must have an MD or his deputy,
I don't like that
we
either.
chose not to do that. We specifically went away from that. 6 states do that. 20 states have actually credentials in place. We chose not to do that for, I think, the reason that you're describing. We didn't want to have an academic litmus test, if you will.
And then as I look around, I look at hospitals and stuff, it seems like increasingly the top person they're recognizing, certainly the practitioners have to be very professionally qualified, but it looks like we're going the direction of the top person typically is not a doc and maybe never worked as a doc, because they recognize that in the end, what they really do is they're a manager. They got to manage the bucks, the facilities, and that getting a doc in there probably doesn't serve your interest.
Okay, so I think I agree with that. And
Senator, just let if you could just let the senator finish his question.
Okay. Was there more?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So if you look at the bill, we actually added an amendment that I think it embodies exactly the point. So we're saying at the very top, there may be other qualities, management experience, et cetera, and we make the bar pretty low. But under the amendments that the committee put on the bill, we do say that for the deputies, you need to have management experience within the subject area you're overseeing. So we are being more prescriptive at the deputy level, because that's where a lot of the action is. And in the case of the person who runs our public health, that deputy actually must be licensed, not necessarily an MD, because that's where all the clinical work is done. And so I think the bill is constructed to embody actually the point you're making. Top guy not being too narrow or too prescriptive, but at the deputy level, you have to some relevant experience in the field, in the area that you're overseeing. And then when we talk about the person that's really where all the clinical work is done, that person needs to be licensed under our health article, not necessarily an MD, they could be a nurse, et cetera. So I think the bill is constructed in that way that I think is consistent with what you just said.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, Chair recognizes Senator from the 42nd District on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I also ask a question or two of the floor manager?
Will the floor leader yield?
Yes, sir.
And just a reminder, Senators, remember, refer to the senator from X district or location, just so that we don't talk over each other, so that we can all hear the answers. These mics are super sensitive, so it sometimes gets muddled. Senator, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bobby Neal was the Secretary of Health for a couple of years. I thought he was a terrific Secretary of Health.
Yes.
He doesn't seem to logically fit into any of these categories. Would he have been qualified?
Yes,
into
I
these?
think, I'm sorry, I interrupted again. I think he would. In fact, I should have made the point This bill has no impact on our current secretary.
Yes, right.
It only takes place July 1 forward, so no impact on anybody current. The answer is yes. I think he would, as would our current health secretary, and I actually, raised that question. I can't remember which of the 5 categories. Again, you only have to meet one of the 5.
Sure.
And I think perhaps let's see here.
We did? Okay.
The answer is, that was asked, and I believe, law or policy, healthcare law or policy, and he was so.
Healthcare policy. Okay.
Correct.
So he was a state senator. Is that the healthcare policy qualification that would have qualified him?
I would say government operations. I would say, these are broad guidelines for executive noms to maybe contemplate, but I would make the case that yes, he would qualify.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
I think as a Maryland state senator, it just qualifies us for anything, right? Chair recognizes the senator from the 38th district on the amendments.
Thank you. If I could just ask a question of the floor leader.
It appears so. Senator may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just a clarification. I just wanted to clarify that the impression might have been left that all of our county health officers have to be medical doctors, that's left up to the counties, because I have, my county health officers are not medical doctors, and they're among the finest in the state. So I wanted just to clarify that.
Yes, so it's in statute, and I have the statute here. Either the health secretary has to be an MD or his deputy. So if the deputy is an MD, then
No, I'm sorry.
I mean, the
county health
the
officers.
local health officer is in statute, the qualifications. The local health officer, either the local health officer has to be MD or the deputy under him has to be an MD. So the local health officer does not have to be an MD, but only if his deputy is an MD. So and on top of that, under statute, that person has to hold a master's degree in public health and have 5 years experience in public health. So the local health officer, just to be clear, and this is current law in statute, our local health officer does not have to have an MD, but only if his deputy does.
I understand that, and I just wanted to clarify that because we have some of the finest health officers in my district, and they are not MDs, and I wanted just to clarify that for the record. Thank you.
Correct, and to make the point again, under this bill, our health secretary does not have to have an MD, just to remove any doubt. That's not in this bill.
Thank
We're
you.
not requiring that.
All right, on the amendments, on the committee amendments, Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd district.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Of course, former Senator Neal is a constituent of mine, become a very good friend over the years, and just want to remind people that we're not always what we seem to be. We know Bobby Neal as a legislator, as the guy who helped build the Miller office building with the 2 sets of elevators, and one doesn't make any sense, but I just wanted to remind the body that from 2002 through 2016, Robert Neal was the Chief Executive Officer of Priority Partners Managed Care Organization. Extensive medical background, decision-making, budgeting, hiring. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Still want to send the good senator our mold bills, too, as our other. No, he did a wonderful job. It truly was a remarkable the project was a remarkable project. Now that I see what we have to do with the DLS building, it was, all right, any further discussion on the 2 committee amendments? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Chair recognizes the senator from the 21st district.
Thank you, Mr. President. I laid the bill over yesterday because I wanted to understand what the bill did, and I spent some time with the sponsor, which I appreciate. I have great concerns about this bill. Many of them have been raised. And I have the concerns partly because, as the floor leader indicated, generally I have concern in hiring good people, whether it's for my business or it's where it's a company where I'm on the board or a nonprofit or in the state, of narrowing the pool. Every time you narrow the pool, if you say for different, and I'm not saying for health secretary, but if you narrow the pool and say if you ever served in jail, if you narrow the pool and say if you don't have a BA, if you narrow the pool and say you don't have this particular kind of experience, you hurt your organization. Because the bigger the pool, the more likely you're going to get a good person. So in general, I think narrowing the pool for applying for jobs and selecting people for jobs is a bad idea. Because when you're selecting somebody, you can look at different kinds of strengths and weaknesses. Not only 47 of us are perfect. Everybody else has some strengths and weaknesses. So I think in principle, it's a bad idea, number one. More specifically, in terms of health care, I've spent a lot of time, as we all have, the past 2 years dealing with the COVID crisis, serving on the Health Budget Subcommittee, serving on the COVID Oversight Group, serving on the Vaccine Oversight Group. I've learned a lot about biology. I've learned a lot about how the health department runs. I've learned a lot about how local health department runs. I've learned a lot about the medical industry. And my conclusion in general from that is that the people with the technical skills, the doctors, the nurses, the researchers, the people with the technical skills did a great job. The researchers figured out how to get that vaccine together in a year. The nurses and the doctors who took care of people who got sick did a great job. The nurses and pharmacists and pharmacy techs who gave shots and give tests have done a great job. But the other part of the business, which was managing it at the federal level, at the CDC, at the state level, at the county level, has not been quite as good. And I'm not saying it's because they're not good people, but they're hard jobs, and they require different skills. To be a health secretary, but I would argue even to be a deputy health secretary, it's not about clinical skills. It's not knowing which shot to give. It's not knowing how to sew up, or the nurse who sewed up my eye when I fell down. I do not want someone without clinical skills to be messing around with my face. But I also don't want someone who's particularly good at that necessarily being the person who's making the budget decisions about 1/3 of the budget. I don't want that person necessarily, they could be, but I don't necessarily to be the person who is making the supply chain decisions. One of the biggest problems we've had in these 2 years is the lack of procurement, supply chain, and logistics capability in our health departments. We all have been through this. Why aren't there tests? Why aren't there vaccines? And then there's communications. A big part of the job of the health secretary, and I give Secretary Neal credit for doing well, and I give Secretary Schrader credit for doing well, but the biggest problems we've had during the COVID crisis are in communications with the public, getting people who are resistant to get a vaccine to think about doing it, taking tests, wearing masks. These are all about social science, not about biological science. And so I think we make a mistake going down that road. The reason I didn't get up before the amendments were adopted to propose an amendment is I agree with the sponsor after having looked at the bill that it is very broadly drafted. Very broadly drafted. So at the end of the day, the way it's drafted, I think allows the selection of someone, and I would say frankly any former elected official. I mean, Bobby Neal was also the county executive in Anne Arundel County. County executives have been deeply involved in all these health issues. Legislators are. So I think it is broadly enough drafted to deal with the problem. But I wanted to get up because the sponsor also referred to the fact that several other agencies have requirements like this. Not very many, but a couple of them. I want to be sure we're not on a slippery slope here. I don't want to say that to be labor secretary, you have to have this qualification. To be secretary of natural resources, you have to be a fish, or whatever it may be. We want people who have broad experience with management, communications, business savvy, as well as just being smart and also political skills, frankly. And one of the biggest problems in this crisis is getting people to work with each other. All of those are what you need in a leader of a cabinet department. And I hope this will be the last sort of bill to restrict governor's options to select good cabinet secretaries. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 25th District, followed by the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, I don't often stand on bills. I'm actually having some questions about this bill, having heard the comments from the gentleman from Prince George's County and had a chance to read over the amendments more carefully. I wonder if the floor leader would be willing to give me the courtesy of a special order. I do have a few concerns, having had the opportunity to do a deeper dive today.
Let's see. The senator's made a motion to special order. problem with doing a
Before,
day.
before we do that, could I just maybe respond to the senator who made a comment, and maybe, if you don't mind, Mr.
Sure, on the
President.
motion to special order.
Yeah,
Senator may
just to be
proceed.
clear, I think the senator from the 21st made an excellent speech. Of course, it didn't really have to do specifically with the very, I would say, narrow provisions of the bill, which actually includes health economics or financial management, exactly the point you were making. So whether it was the gentleman earlier, your points, there's nothing in this bill that's inconsistent with the points that have been made here on the floor. These categories embody exactly what the senator from the 21st just mentioned. That said, I'd be happy to, a special order is totally appropriate.
All right, floor leader has no concerns, any objections to the special order? Without objection, the bill and the report will be special order to the appropriate time tomorrow. Take a closer look, make sure we get all the questions answered. Clerk, we have another laid over bill. This is calendar 7. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 263, Senator Bidle, Health, Food Service Facilities, Beverage Options with Children's Meals. Question is on the adoption of the committee amendment and the favorable report.
All right, question before the body is on the one committee amendment. Chair recognizes the floor leader on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to withdraw the committee amendment.
All right, the senator has made a motion to withdraw the committee amendment. Are there any objections? One moment. Okay, just making sure we didn't have to do a committee action. So the senator's made a motion to withdraw the committee amendment. Are there any objections to the senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. The committee amendments are withdrawn. So before the body, we now have the favorable committee report. Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will have an amendment, but I think first we have to
We'll do
accept the report.
Perfect. All right, the question is on the adoption of the favorable report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye, opposed nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. We do have an amendment. Senator has an amendment. Pages, please collect the amendment. Good thing we have an amendment today. We get to get the pages a little bit of a workout here.
So, Mr. President, if I can read the amendment number?
We should have it just, if we give us one quick second, we'll be able to hand it out today. Let's get it up on the board here. One moment, just give us half a second. The joys of having pages is that we don't have to do the numbers like the other.
Okay.
Senator may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the amendment, and this was discussed with the full committee yesterday and approved by the full committee, but it's my amendment, changing some of the requirements of what can be on a child's menu. And so what the amendment does is it matches the bill now to pretty much directly to Baltimore City and Prince George's County, who have already passed this local bill. It allows the menu on a children's meal to include water, sparkling water, or flavored water with no artificial flavor or no added natural or artificial sweeteners. It also allows milk or any non-dairy milk alternative, and it allows fruit juices and vegetable juices to be combined with water or sparkling water, again with no added natural or artificial sweeteners. So the final part of this amendment was in the amendment yesterday that we didn't adopt, that this section may not be construed to preempt a county or municipal government from enacting or enforcing more stringent benefits. So I'd like to make a motion for the amendment.
All right, Senator has moved the amendment, and this is a committee amendment. Is that correct, Senator? Committee took a look at it?
Well, it's in my name, but the committee looked at it.
Took a look at it, yeah, excellent. Okay, question is on the amendment. Chair recognizes the senator from the 35th District on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the floor leader yield for a question on the amendment?
Appears so. Senator may proceed.
Be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is the first time I've seen it, just glancing over. So the part with milk, so would that now allow chocolate milk also instead of just white milk?
Thank you for the question. It doesn't specify chocolate or any other, it just says milk or non-dairy milk alternative. So that would be up to the local, local jurisdiction.
With this, so chocolate would be okay, and also I'm assuming this removes the low-fat part that was in the original too also, right?
Right, it just says milk.
Good, so potentially now whole milk, whole chocolate milk could be included.
Whole milk, 2% non-fat, milk alternative, you know, all those things would be allowed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the minority leader on the amendment.
Yes, on the amendment. Floor Leader would yield.
Floor to yield. Pearsall, Senator may proceed.
So I just heard the senator ask about milk, and it sounds like chocolate milk's in there. People are going to be happy with that. I went back and listened to the testimony, and it seems like the issue is that children are consuming too much sugar and it's dangerous for them. It's so dangerous we need a law to try to help that. Is that basically what this bill is attempting to do?
That's correct.
Okay, so how much sugar does an 8-ounce chocolate milk have?
You know, it depends on the chocolate, because some chocolate doesn't have a lot of sugar. Milk has sugar. You know, skim milk has 13 grams of sugar. So when we start, basically milk has sugar. And now we're going to, if that's what a family chooses, chocolate could be added to sugar. But the problem is that a child at the age of 2 should have no more than 8 ounces of a sugary drink a week. And the average low-income family is consuming 2.5 times that. And so it's really become a problem as we look at obesity and the cost of health care for obesity.
Okay, I actually looked up just regular chocolate milk. It has 21 grams of sugar.
Okay.
So this is going to allow 21 grams of sugar. And then I think it also allows you to have 100% natural apple juice. Do you know how many grams of sugar that has?
Oh, I know there has a lot of natural sugar in apple juice, but it has natural sugar, not added sugar.
Right, and I've read a Harvard study that they both have problems, added and natural, with their health. And then just how much does a Coke, 8-ounce Coke have? How much sugar does that have?
It has a lot of sugar.
Well, it's between 22 and 26 grams. And that's basically what the chocolate milk and the apple juice has. So if the intent of the bill is to prevent the sugar going to our children, aren't we defeating the purpose of the bill?
Well, on the juices, you know, I mean, just eating fruit has sugar, but it's natural sugar, and that's different than added sugar. And so the natural sugars are in the juices. The bill also allows a family, which this is what my daughter does for my grandchildren, half and half. Half juice, half water. And the bill also allows that, which helps to reduce the amount of sugar.
No, I understand. I mean, we've got such a dangerous situation. We're putting a law into place. And we've just seen that the way this bill is drafted now, you get just as much sugar from chocolate milk as you do from a soda. So how is that addressing the problem?
So, Senator, we discussed chocolate milk ad nauseum in the committee. It's not my choice to allow milk, whether it's chocolate or unflavored, but it was the will of the committee to allow chocolate milk.
And I understand that because it's before our body, but I was just going to the intent of the bill. Are we really tackling the issue of excessive sugar if we're allowing drinks to have the exact same amount of sugar content in this bill?
I don't think every family that orders a drink is going to order chocolate milk. It is an option, but you know, we're trying to compromise and work with local governments, and this is what Prince George's County and Baltimore City decided on. So we're compromising, working with them, because we don't want, and for the benefit of beverage organizations, we don't want a different regulation in every county. That becomes too confusing. It's the reason we increased the amount of beverage from 6 ounces to 8 ounces, because the beverage companies serve 8 ounces. And so we're trying to work with and compromise and make this the best bill we can while we're working with organizations.
Okay, so from this amendment, basically what it says is if one industry puts the same amount of sugar on a menu, it's okay, but if another industry puts that same amount of sugar, it's not okay. And so that's just a question I had. And if sugar is so dangerous, which I think it is, and I'll give you a personal example. I've had a couple children, so we've had a couple Happy Meals. I actually offered my children $100 a year if they wouldn't drink soda except for special occasions like a birthday and stuff. And several of them took it up on it. They loved the $100. So I agree with the intent of what we're trying to do as a society. Whether government should be the one, I don't know, or whether parents, but if it's so important that we do this, where does it stop? I mean, I go to a pancake place, and they've got lovely pancakes, and they put the whipped cream on and the rainbow sprinkles, and then you put syrup on. That's way more sugar than we're even talking about here. And then guess what? In these little meals, they give you desserts. And you look at Chick-fil-A's ice creams, 47 grams of sugar. But we're not saying you can't put that on the menu. So I guess if it's so dangerous, why are we just picking
Senator,
drinks?
if you want to add food to the bill, I'm happy to support that amendment. Prince George's County and Baltimore City has added food to the restricted items that can be on a menu, so I'm happy to support that amendment if you want to prepare it.
Okay, then the last question I have is, we've just gone through COVID. Hopefully we're getting around the corner. It'll be the last corner we have to turn. Restaurants have been really struggling. We all know that. We've tried to help them out. And I've gone to a few during COVID and enjoyed it. And one thing I noticed is they had new menus because of it, and they had to put the expense out to do that. How do you see this playing forward, how this is actually implemented? Because when our kids would go there, they'd say, here's a meal, and you can pick from all these nice little fluffy meals, and then you pick a drink, and then you pick a dessert. Are they going to have to come up with new menus where they basically handle this?
Well, you know, I've been out a few times now that COVID's over too. Most of the menus now are paper because they're not reusing menus like they were. So that should be pretty easy when they're using paper menus. But the bill doesn't require new menus, and
So would they be able to continue the menus they have there where they say, pick a juice, or do they have to have a default in that menu?
it's going to depend on what, it doesn't direct what the menu would say, but you know, they're going to, eventually they're going to print new menus and they're going to have these choices on new menus. It doesn't require them to print a new menu.
So if they don't have to print a new menu, so we go and they say, Pancake Place, and I see it says, here's my meal, pick your juice, you can have soda, this, that's okay under this bill?
Right, it affects the packaged meals, and would they print a new menu for packaged meals? Well, it's what they're going to be offered, so eventually, you know, I guess they would correct their menu, but the bill itself doesn't require a new menu.
So it wouldn't prohibit them to keep their existing menus where they say they can pick a soda or this or this?
I'm asking counsel. Yeah, that's not in the bill. It doesn't require them to print a new menu.
Okay, thank you.
All right. On the floor amendment, Chair recognizes the senator from District 12 on the amendment.
Thank you. Will the floor leader yield for
Will the floor leader
some
yield?
questions?
Pearso, Senator may proceed.
All right, thank you. So I know there's been a lot of attention being given to, I guess, the sugar that's in some of these drinks, but when it comes to soft drinks, there are other things in soft drinks that raise concerns as well. I'm sure that many of us have backgrounds and have seen that there's a lot of acid in these types of soft drinks. And just looking through some of the ingredients in these soft drinks, this includes acid like citric acid, which we're familiar with from oranges and whatnot, but also phosphoric acid and carbonic acid. Some of these acids are pretty strong, isn't that right? And can damage some teeth?
That's very true, and also sodium, large amounts of sodium usually in sodas.
Yes. And the acid is strong enough that when you look at carbonic acid, that some of the latest research shows that it's nearly as corrosive as battery acid. And so that can be severely damaging to folks' teeth. I know many in this body are familiar with the case of Diamante Driver, the horrible case from years ago where dental caries of a child ended up being fatal. And so being able to protect children's enamel is incredibly important. And even data from the Academy of General Dentistry shows that the erosive potential of colas is 10 times, sodas, is 10 times that of fruit juices in just the first 3 minutes of drinking. So it's not just sugar, I presume, that's a problem here. It's also some of the other ingredients such as carbonic acid, phosphoric acid, citric acid that are also in some of these drinks that can really wear away a lot of children's enamel. Is that correct?
Thank you for pointing that out, Dr. Lamb.
All right. Chair recognizes the senator from Montgomery County on the amendment.
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. President. And would the floor leader yield for a couple of questions? Because following up on the good senator from Howard County, the discussion about what it is that are in some of these other products, what I think we have not heard with regard to milk and milk products, yes, they may have sugar, but there are significant nutrients found in milk, are there not, that are not going to be found in sugary sweet drinks?
That's correct.
So for instance, milk contains calcium, protein, niacin, riboflavin, vitamin A, potassium, vitamin B12, phosphorus, and vitamin D. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
And milk, 1 cup, can provide 1/3 of a person's calcium intake during the course of a day.
That's true.
So there are, and that's just touching on the very edge of the nutritional value beyond the sugar that is contained in milk, be it white or chocolate, that would be beneficial to our children in this epidemic of diabetes that we are experiencing at the moment. Would that be correct?
That's correct, Senator.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the amendment, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. All opposed? Nay. The amendment is adopted. A little slow day there for a minute. Slow day there for a minute. All right, are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 263 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, we've got another layover. This is calendar number 8. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 77, Senator West, Health, Occupations, Boards, Investigations, Right to Counsel. Question is on the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable report.
All right, question is on the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, Chair recognizes the senator from the 41st District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've talked to the floor leader and the bill sponsor, and I'd like to special order the bill for an amendment.
A special order for the purpose of an amendment. All right, let's check with the bills for the floor leader on the motion of special order.
No objection.
1 day, are we good with 1 day? Do you want to do Friday? We can do Friday. Okay. Negotiated on the floor. All right. Without objection, we will special order the bill until the bill and the amendments to the appropriate time on Friday. All right, one more. We have a special order. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 279, Senator Heddleman, Access to Counsel and Evictions Special Fund Alterations. Question is on the adoption of the favorable report as amended.
All right, Senators, the question is on the amended report. Any discussion on the report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there amendments to the bill or its title? We don't have anything before us. Take it up on third? Okay. All right. The Senate Bill 279 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right. The desk is clear, Senators. Desk is clear. Let's do committee announcements. Chair recognizes the Chair of Finance.
Finance will be having hearings at 1 p.m.
1 p.m. Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair recognizes the Chair of Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs.
So too will Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs. Bill hearings at 1 p.m.
1 p.m. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair recognizes the Chair of Budget and Taxation.
At 1 p.m., we have a number of bill hearings, and then we'll have a short voting session afterwards.
Bills and voting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair recognizes the Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. Judicial proceedings will meet today at 1 p.m. for bill hearings.
1 p.m. All right. Any other standing committees? Select committees? Yes. Chair recognizes the Chair of the Anne Arundel County Delegation. No?
Nope.
Senator from Anne Arundel.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I have 2 committee announcements. First, Pensions Subcommittee is meeting tomorrow at 8:30 in the B&T committee room. 8:30 B&T will be taking up we will be hearing a number of bills and then voting on a number of bills. The agenda should be in your inboxes. And secondly, Mr. President, as chair of the AELR committee, I'd like to alert AELR committee members that we have a hearing at 2:30 on Friday, 2:30 Friday, to hear and take action if needed on the request from the Maryland State Board of Education regarding the mask mandate. We will be accepting testimony online, this is for the public, tomorrow between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. So 2:30 on Friday, and that will be via Zoom, Mr. President.
Excellent. All right. 2:30 on Friday. Any other delegations? Announcements? Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of EHE. Senator from Montgomery County.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. So this is the first time I have stood up in 8 years to remember the passing of someone really special. The President just said earlier today that we love all our constituents, but some are just loved a little bit more. I'm proudly wearing my Gaithersburg mask today because we lost the former mayor of Gaithersburg, Bruce Goldenson, quite unexpectedly on Sunday. Bruce served for 8 years as the mayor of Gaithersburg. The city grew about 30% during his tenure. He had significant leadership in annexing areas nearby, including the property that is now AstraZeneca MedImmune, one of the largest employers in the county and in the state that's doing groundbreaking work in healthcare, the Activity Center, and so many others. Prior to being mayor, he was on the city council. He later served on the Montgomery County Board of Education, and most recently, he served on the Montgomery County Redistricting Commission. Because he's a Republican and because, as a Democrat, I can say mercifully, there are not so many active Republicans in Montgomery County, he was tapped whenever we needed a bipartisan group because he was thoughtful, he was respected, and he was available. He made himself available long after retirement. He and I were in the Montgomery County Citizens Police Academy class together. We also both served as trustees on the Caring Matters Board, which is our local hospice that does such important work. He was also president of the Friends of Seneca Creek State Park, the vice president of the Gaithersburg Library Advisory Committee. He served as a commissioner of the Maryland Governor's Commission on Service and Volunteerism, and so he was really a poster child for that. He leaves his wonderful wife, Anne, his daughter, their daughter, Suzanne, and a granddaughter. And I'm just going to quote the current mayor of Gaithersburg, Judd Ashman. His passion for Gaithersburg never dimmed. No one embodied civic duty and civic involvement more than former mayor Bruce Goldenson. The funeral for Bruce is happening today in just about an hour or so, and I just ask that the Senate adjourn in his memory and with gratitude for all he did for Gaithersburg and Montgomery County. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Without objection, we certainly will adjourn in the late mayor's honor, and certainly a true dyed-in-the-wool public servant. All right, any further observations before we adjourn? If not, let's do a quorum call.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 44 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned in memory of Bruce Goldenson until Thursday, February 24th at 10 a.m.
Without objection, so ordered. Have a great day. Stay safe, everyone. See you tomorrow.